now we discuss the output devices, and there are many of them, but probably we are going to discuss the most obvious one. There are more than 3 output devices known today, but for the sake of understanding what we are talking about, is adequate to discuss just a few of them. The most common one is the monitor. The monitor is also called the VDU, or visual display unit. There is the main output device of a computer. It forms images for tiny dots or pixels that are arranged in a rectangular form. I think it should be obvious that first of all we see what a monitor is. This is the old version of monitors. They might be still there in a few places. They are old type. They used to be called CRT monitors or cathode ray tube monitors. The most common one nowadays are these ones. They are called flat panel display monitors. We just look at each one of them. The difference between these two is that one of them has better quality images than the other. The image is formed by having many pixels that are illuminated to form the screen. In fact, this screen is divided into 1,000 pixels here and some 1,000 pixels here, but assume they are 1,000 pixels, and therefore the more they are in a line, the more pixels you're going to have, and therefore the better the quality you are going to have from your screen. If there are fewer, probably 200 by 200, then the pixels will be fewer, and therefore you are going to have a poor quality image. So that is the idea of a monitor. So a finite number of characters can be displayed on a screen at once. The screen can be divided into a series of boxes, and you're saying that you might have that being this screen being able to have approximately 80 characters when they are running horizontally, and probably we are saying 80 of them, and probably how many? 25 when they are arranged vertically. So that depends on the kind of a monitor. They are now different. They are very much, those ones are the old type. I believe over time they have improved, so you don't get to worry about that. The major disadvantage of CRT or cathode ray tube type of monitor is that they are large in size. They consume a lot of power and many other disadvantages, like they emit a lot of light, and therefore if you spend the whole day working on this kind of a screen, your eyes might ache, etc. So the most common ones are what we call flat panel display monitors that I have mentioned. These ones have reduced size or reduced volume and reduced weight, and they have much less power consumption than when compared to the CRT. And the other idea about them is that they are quite common. You find them in calculators, video games, laptop computers, etc. So this is now not the only one. You might have even this screen itself. You might now find a portion of it. You might have this portion being on a calculator, or a bigger portion being on a. So we are saying the idea is that we have this is called flat panel display. It might be fitted in different devices like calculators, video games, monitors, among others. So, but then you're saying there are two types of this kind of screens. One of them is called emissive displays, and the other one is called non-emissive. The emissive displays are the ones that are based on plasma or LEDs. So the light emitting diodes are put, and in the old days we used to have plasma type of TV screens. They used to call them plasma. The idea is that they are based on emissive displays, and you say they convert electrical energy into light. The other non-emissive type is the one that is built using the optical technology that converts light into graphic patterns. So the major difference is that this one converts electrical energy into light, whereas the non-emissive displays, they convert light into the pattern that you want. So it is already receiving instruction in form of light and converts it to become an image. And therefore, we find this term quite common called LCD screens or liquid crystal devices. They are non-emissive, therefore they are even more friendlier to the eyes than these ones. So I think that is the major difference about the screens. So you can always read more about this one. Ours is just the introduction. Our next kind of output device that we discuss is the printer, and they are very common. There are very many types, and they just outputting devices by printing it on a paper. So you have some information on a computer, like the one I am seeing now, and if I want to display this one to become a hard copy, I just use a printer, and that printer allows me to get a hard copy of my information. So we discussed some few types of printers. The first classification of printers is this one, that either classifies them as either impact type printer or non-impact type printers. And the impact type printers follow more closely to the old version of typewriters. When you are doing typewriters, you'd place a keypad here, and you'd place a paper somewhere here, and therefore, depending on each key, there is a connector that connects your keys to your keyboard, such that if you place an A, it would hit, it would strike your paper with an A. So an A would be transferred from here, and you would strike your paper with A. You press a 7, it is you strike a 7 here. So the idea is striking. You are pressing your key manually or physically on your paper. So that is the old type of typewriters. That is not how the impact printers now work necessarily, but the idea is the same. Now this was manual striking, but now the electronic striking is still used, whereby the idea is that you press the keys that you want to be typed on a paper by using an electronic means. And now we discuss the characteristics of the impact printers. Okay, they have low consumable cost. That is by the virtue that there is no much electronics involved apart from the one that has given the instructions to place the characters on a paper. Then you would actually say that they actually have low consumable cost. This means that they are cheap. The other disadvantage is that they are noisy, because you're talking about paper being pressed and producing characters. And I think you might have also seen this kind of papers. If you go to the bank, most of the banks use impact printers, very cheap ones, but at least they use impact printers. You'll hear them making noise as they are printing. So that is the impact printers. They are normally used for bulk printing because of their low cost, and there is a physical contact between the paper and the image. So that is the major idea that I was trying to introduce with the typewriter here, that you would have a physical contact where the image that you have is printed on a paper physically by touching the paper. There are some further classification of the printers. One of them is called character printers, and the other one is called line printer. Of course, the character printers, they print one character at a time, whereas the line printers will print one whole line at a time. Now, I guess what you find in banks is the more advanced version of impact printers that print one whole line at a time. So there is further classification of character printers, where we have the dot matrix printer and a daisy wheel printer. So the dot matrix printer looks like the one that you are seeing on my screen. It is one of the most popular printers. And it is popular because of their ease of printing, and they are a bit cheap. Each character is printed in the form of pattern of dots, and head consists of matrix of pins of size this. You might have different sizes, and therefore which come out to form a character, which is why it is called a dot matrix printer. So it's like you have a head here. So look at this head. This head has matrix of pins, probably arranged by 5 by 7 or 7 by 9 or 9 by 7, etc., or 9 by 9. So you have pins here, probably 5 of them, 5 by 7. So like that. So when you want to type number A, you would have the pins here. This pin turn on. I can use a different color. This pin turn on. This pin also. This pin also. This pin also, and probably another pin. Similarly, on this other side, this pin turn on and this pin turn on. And then when you print, you will find it's a printout of dots. That is why it's called dot matrix printer. So I was saying that you end up with a character that is printed with very many dots. That is why it is called a dot matrix printer. So some of the advantages of this one is that it is a bit very cheap, it is very widely used, and you can have characters from other languages being printed. The disadvantage with this kind of printer, that is dot matrix, is a bit slower. It has a poor quality. If you have find a printer with low resolution of matrix, like 5x7, then you might have a character that looks like this one, which may not be very clear in comparison to this A that is printed by a continuous line in comparison to the number of dots that you are seeing here. That is the major difference between the dot matrix and the daisy. So let's look at the daisy wheel. So the daisy wheel printer, again, this is a character printer that falls under the category of impact printers. Head is lying on a wheel, and pins corresponding to characters are like petals of daisy or flower, which is why it is called daisy wheel printer. These printers are generally used for word processing in offices that require few characters to be sent here and there or to be printed. So I had also put some notes that you might also find it in banks. It is different from the dot matrix. Pins are corresponding to characters are put on a wheel. And then when you want to print, say, a letter A, you might have a whole wheel here that has A. I think probably it might be half A, B, C, D, E, F. So they are printed as a flower on a wheel, such that when you want to print A, this wheel will rotate and then stop at where there is A and then place it on your paper. When you want to print B, it will run again, run where there is B and then stop and press on paper. That is the idea. It is a bit slow, but it has a better quality than the dot matrix printer. So the advantages of the daisy wheel is that it is more reliable than dot matrix printer. It has better quality, and the fonts of character can easily be changed. So you might have different fonts encrypted on this wheel, and therefore it will print different fonts. Again, the disadvantages is that it is still slower, way slower than the dot matrix. It is still noisy. It's a bit more expensive than the dot matrix printer. Well, we are somehow moving away from this one. They are still in use today, but we are having more advanced versions of printers, like line printers, which now print one whole line at a time. And there are two categories of or two types of line printers. One of course is drum printer and chain printer. And I really would not go into too many details of these types, because again you can be able to read through about each of these. So I actually advise that you can you read through about the difference between the drum printer and the chain printer. So what I will now jump to do is that we have discussed the first category of impact printers. All those that we have discussed are impact. We have categorized them as either character or line, and then we have split the character into dot matrix printer and daisy wheel, and then we have seen the line printers. Like we have two types, that is the drum printer and the chain printer. So this is the one I've just told you to look at on your own and read through.